Hi, Mayor and members of the City Council. This is Andrew. I just want to make sure everyone's on. So it sounds like we heard from Mayor Lemons. Vice Mayor, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Councilmember Aguayo?
I'm here.
All right. I heard Councilmember Guillen check in. So are you still on?
Still here.
All right. And Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Estoy aquí. I'm right here.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Paramount City Council meeting. This is a special notice that pursuant to Executive Order N-29-20 executed by the Governor of California on March 17th, 2020, and as a response to mitigating the spread of coronavirus known as COVID-19, the regular meeting of the City Council scheduled for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 at 5 p.m. will allow members of the public to participate and address the Paramount City Council during the open session of the meeting via live stream and or teleconference only. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Lemons for the start of the meeting. Mayor Lemons?
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. I'm going to call to order the Paramount City Council meeting for August 18th, 2020. May I have roll call of council members, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Aguayo?
I'm here.
Councilmember Guillen?
Here.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Here.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
I'm here.
Mayor Lemons?
Here. At this time, we have City Council public comment updates.
Yes, Madam Mayor. From the August 4th, 2020 City Council meeting, we have three people that spoke. The first one was Ms. Raquel de Casas. She claims that she did not receive an email that the city reported it sent on July 21st. In response to that, at the August 4th council meeting, staff reported one of two erroneous dates of emails that were sent from the mayor to Ms. de Casas. The mayor actually responded to Ms. de Casas on three occasions: June 5th, June 9th, and June 23rd, 2020. Ms. de Casas also was requesting copies of polls and surveys the city uses to determine that public safety is the highest priority of the city. The city clerk has processed Ms. de Casas' request for copies of the community survey as a Public Records Act request and provided her with responsive records. Moving on, the next speaker, Mr. Gerald Serta. He would like the city to ensure that internet service can be provided for all students and families, given that schools will start the fall school year under virtual learning. In response to this, staff discussed this issue with the members of the City Paramount Unified School District Ad Hoc Committee on August 8th. School District Superintendent Dr. Ruth Perez indicated that the school district is in communication with the state superintendent about funding that will help bridge the digital divide for students and their families. Staff expressed this concern also to State Senator Gonzalez's office and is researching different governmental programs, legislation, and grants offered by the state for this purpose. And any information that we receive, we are definitely passing that on to the school district. Also, Mr. Serta mentioned that he would like information on workshops for tenants on their eviction rights under the county eviction moratorium. Staff emailed Mr. Serta on August 7th to share workshops and resources provided by the city in partnership with the Fair Housing Foundation of Long Beach. We will also continue to promote these workshops on the city's social media and websites. Next person that spoke that requires an action or comment was Mr. Rodolfo Cortez Barragan. Mr. Rodolfo Cortez Barragan was requesting all cease and desist letters sent by the city since 2000 in response to a cease and desist order sent to Mr. Cortez Barragan last year. In response to that, staff is processing this request for documents and will send these to Mr. Cortez Barragan. The second item was Mr. Cortez Barragan was concerned that clean water is the people's right and wants the city to acknowledge the true scope of the problem. In response to that, the city's water system is safe and meets all state and federal standards. Our water division staff performs regular water testing as required by law and reports these results to the state. If any negative results occur, the city is required by law to inform the community. The city is transparent with this information as it is publicly available. Furthermore, the state monitors the quality of Paramount's water. If unsafe levels of any chemical are found, the state could shut down the water system. That has never happened in Paramount. One of the city's most significant services is providing safe, clean water to the community. In 2019, Mr. Cortez Barragan produced and posted an online video which made a series of false claims about the city, including false allegations about our water quality. In the public interest and for the well-being and safety of the community, and in an attempt to have Mr. Cortez Barragan correct the facts, the city issued a cease and desist order to Mr. Cortez Barragan to remove the video and to stop the dissemination of misinformation. Once those letters were delivered, the city chose not to pursue further legal action. And that concludes the city public comment updates from the August 4th meeting, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. I just want to remind everybody that when you're not speaking, please mute your microphones. There's a lot of background noise going on. Sounds like shuffling of papers and some other things. And so next we're going to move into public comments.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 4 public comments that will be voiced, and we have 1 written email public comment that is for item number 5.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, just a reminder, public comments will be held remotely via telephone, given the remote live webcast this evening. Our first commenter will be Raquel de Casas, and let me get her on the phone. One moment, please.
Hello?
Good evening. This is the City of Paramount calling for Raquel de Casas.
Hi.
Hi, I'm contacting you regarding your request for public comment for the Paramount City Council meeting. You're now being broadcast live to the City Council. Your public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll give you notice when you have 20 seconds left. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I wanted to ask regarding the street racing, how will forfeiture be handled when it affects the parent or / owner of the vehicle if their kid / driver is sneaking out of the car without their consent? And then in what ways are we also seeking community-based strategies to find solutions for illegal street racing? According to an article by Arizona State University, several cities and counties have successfully addressed their illegal street racing problem by creating either on their own or in collaboration with other organizations a legal racing venue. Additionally, this article shares existing national programs such as Racers Against Street Racing, sponsored by SEMA, which is a nationwide effort to promote safe and legal alternatives to illegal street racing. Can we create a team that would have the interpersonal skills required to form a relationship with the street racers to work together for safer alternatives, as well as educating spectators of the dangers? And then I also wanted to add, I saw that there's a vote by mail ballot box, and I was wondering if we would be able to get more of those, just given the time of what's going on with the election, the voter suppression. And I just think it's really important for us to have more access to vote by mail boxes around our city, or even if it's maybe in the same place, just more space for more ballots to fit, since there's probably going to be more people that are voting by mail this election. I yield my time, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Casillas. Just regarding the street racing, it is on the agenda again tonight. It was expressed during the last council meeting how we would deal with if a parent had a child take a car, not them knowing, or other issues where it's going to put a strain on the family household. So when Mr. Kavanaugh presents that item, perhaps he could reiterate those issues.
Madam Mayor, just so you're aware, that is on consent calendar. If you would like Mr. Kavanaugh to review that, we can pull that item off the consent calendar. It's obviously the discretion of the council.
Is Mr. Kavanaugh on the line?
Yes, I am, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we don't have to pull it off. Why don't you go ahead and just go over the part again that was discussed at the last council meeting regarding, somebody paying the price for somebody taking their car, or it being a financial burden on the family. all those issues I know were discussed at the last meeting.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate that. And with respect to the speaker asking that question, it's a very good question. What we have done in the ordinance itself, we've drafted provisions in there which create safeguards for those individuals in the very scenario that is being stated. In the event that a car which may be registered or legally owned by a parent or third party, but was apparently used in a street racing incident by either a child or someone 18 and over, we have provisions of the ordinance that would allow those people to come before and talk to us regarding their hardships, in which case we will be able to work with them individually and to come up with a reasonable solution so as to return the car to the individuals who may need it for their livelihood. But what we would do is that we would require an agreement to be signed by the registered or legal owner that says we're giving the car back to you, but if it's going to be used in street racing again for the next few years, we do have the right to take the car away. So we want to be able to be sensitive to those situations, but at the same time, we really want to make sure that that car is not being used for street racing. So those are some of the safeguards, Madam Mayor, that we put into the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh. Next speaker, please.
Okay, one moment while I get them on the line.
Hello?
Good evening. This is the City of Paramount calling for Jaime Lopez.
That's me.
Hi, I'm contacting you regarding your request for public comment for the Paramount City Council meeting. You are now being broadcast live to the City Council. Your public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll give you notice when you have 20 seconds left. Your time starts now.
Regarding the unity and the community presentation given at the last meeting, I'd like to emphasize that this dialogue is fundamentally flawed in several respects. City staff are committed and active partners, so I'll use the terms dialogue and city interchangeably. Point number one, it is not clear how participants and agenda items were selected. Genuine participation starts with how these basic decisions are made. The city claims to be committed to developing and implementing reasonable long-term solutions, which invokes the question, who gets to decide what is reasonable? Who gets to decide whether the chosen solutions are adequate? When you say that you welcome ideas that enhance our community, who gets to decide what enhances the community or not? Point number two, the dialogue is currently designed to disproportionately showcase law enforcement in a positive light, as opposed to authentically enabling a robust dialogue about racial justice for Black populations. On one of your slides, you indicate support for Black Lives Matter, but not before you first establish support for law enforcement. On that same slide, you express support for just about every type of individual or organization in our community, which is essentially a dog whistle that says all lives matter. And we all know what that means. Making this point even harder to dismiss, a later slide states that you strive to achieve an appreciation for all people of all races. Black lives are and have been in danger, and that is the main point of this moment. Point number three, on another slide you list what you respect, mentioning law enforcement twice, never explicitly stating that you actually respect Black lives in Paramount and are committed to protect them. You also list respect for civic leaders, business owners, and community owners who take ownership. Again, who gets to decide what taking ownership looks like? Point number four, you denounce any person or group who has the intent of undermining the credibility of leadership in any form. This seems more concerned about protecting leadership than openly hearing what residents have to say. I would remind everyone that rationally calling into question leadership's equivocation, uninformed views, or outright neglect should be welcomed in any space genuinely interested in discussing difficult and complicated topics. In closing, I would like to ask Mr. Warfield whether he's concerned that his city council has mostly, for 2 months now, neglected to publicly acknowledge support for Black Lives Matter. His answer would speak volumes about the legitimacy of this dialogue. I can imagine a scenario where you might dismiss my comments as political grandstanding.
Mr. Lopez, you have 20 seconds left.
but accusing them as such would render such accusations not only convenient, but also complicit in prioritizing law enforcement over racial justice. I yield my time.
Thank you for your comments. Before we go to the next speaker, I think it's important to note that the agenda came from the committee and that furtherance of the agenda will come from the residents' input at these meetings. So we are definitely looking for the community to talk to us about direction and the things they'd like to see, and the committee will help prosper those things along and move us in the right direction. They're very anxious to speak with the residents. We in the leadership are very interested to hear from the residents, and we hope that the agenda does come from the public. So please sign on Saturday, be part of the conversation, submit your questions, submit your concerns, submit your ideas. We're anxious to hear from you. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Okay, one moment.
Hello?
Good evening. This is the City of Paramount calling for Gardeep Kaur.
Yep, this is Gurdeep.
Hi, I am contacting you regarding your request for public comment for the Paramount City Council meeting. You're now being broadcast live to the City Council. Your public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll give you notice when you have 20 seconds left. Your time starts now.
All right, good evening, Council. Thank you, Council Member. That was very encouraging to hear that you are inviting community input and shaping that agenda for the unity in the community, because as the PowerPoint currently stands, it's quite lacking, and it fails to address the very specific requests and strategies brought forth by the Black Lives Matter movement. What is outlined in that PowerPoint glances over and dismisses what Black Lives Matter is fighting for. It is a very specific ask: defund the police in order to fund all these other services that our community needs. We are disappointed that it focuses on oppressing different opinions in the name of respect and perception. We never asked to rebrand the police. What we are asking is for you to rise to the challenge of moving past conservative and punitive approaches and towards more progressive strategies to build up our community. We call in every week about this, and yet that agenda doesn't include any social workers or any racial justice workers on that committee. So again, who is on that committee? We would like to be on that committee that forms that agenda. Nothing on that agenda really reflects a deep knowledge-based approach to this problem. So the question is really simple: do Black Lives Matter in Paramount? Because they matter to us. And we have repeatedly called on Council to express support for the minorities in the city. This will not be something that happens overnight. We understand that. So we request more participatory decision-making, including us in that committee, including us in the formation of next year's budget. Because while you have expressed, and the city manager has expressed, that you've met the requirements of transparency in accordance with state law, we're asking you to go beyond that. We're asking you to include us because we want to be involved. The community wants to be involved. We appreciate your time, and I look forward to hearing back from you on these concerns that I've raised tonight. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you again for your comments. And once again, I want to express that we are looking forward to the community helping us develop the agenda for the future. And I know that that's what the committee wants to. I think that it's obvious that this is an extremely important topic, or we wouldn't have spent so much time and energy trying to create a forum where we can hear from everybody. And as far as the issue being specific to defunding the police, everything that I've read, Black Lives Matter is specific to each community and what they address and where they feel the shortfalls are. So we're certainly going to look forward to hearing that information from our community and reacting in a responsible, positive way. And thank you for your input, and I hope that your input will be heard on the actual meeting on Saturday so that the committee can help form an agenda that represents our city. Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have one more.
You have reached 562-879-2444.
Madam Mayor, let me try one more time to get this person on the phone.
You have reached 562-879.
It looks like we got a voicemail for our last speaker, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on with the agenda then.
Okay.
Our next item is a presentation. We only have a single presentation tonight, and that is for National Senior Citizens Day, which is August 21st is National Senior Citizens Day, and we are recognizing this in Paramount for all of our older residents. During this time of sheltering at home, we are reminded just how important it is to care for and protect our seniors so they can remain safe and healthy. Because of the pandemic, we closed our senior center, but the city has continued their efforts to stay in touch with our older residents. We have conducted wellness checks, delivered meals and other staples, recognized birthdays, held virtual exercise classes, and much more. For Senior Citizens Day, we will be dropping off cookies, face masks, and cards at different locations. But regardless of what the city might do for them, Paramount senior citizens deserve our thanks for everything they've done and achieved over the years for the good of our community. Senior Citizens Day is a time to let all of these people in your life know how much you appreciate them. So on August 21st, spend some time with a senior or give them a call, and then keep it up during the rest of the year. The city has produced certificates of recognition, and we will deliver them to the Town Center Terrace and the Adams Street housing locations for seniors. This is all for tonight's presentations. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Olmos. Second, Aguayo.
Moved by Olmos, seconded by Aguayo. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos,
Yes.
Mayor Lemons.
Yes. With that, we'll move on to new business. We have an oral report on the Metro line for the Santa Ana Branch Light Railway.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. Metro, the transit agency for Los Angeles County, is building a new light rail line that will go through Paramount. The goal is to have this line running in time for the 2028 Olympics. Over the last couple of years, Metro has done some preliminary presentations to the City Council about this project, and Metro has also hosted public meetings in Paramount. As with any project this size, there's a lot of planning that goes into this, so they've been attempting to engage the public on many fronts. There's also a very large environmental report that is being prepared, a draft of which should be out early next year and will involve, again, more public meetings. Parts of the rail line through Paramount will be elevated, and parts will be at street level, or what is called at grade. The station that will be in Paramount will be located on the northwest corner of Rosecrans and Paramount, and it will be elevated. There are also many other features about this rail line that will be highlighted in the presentation before you tonight, such as the pedestrian tunnel that is near the high school and the bike lane that will run adjacent to the railroad tracks. Some time ago, the City Council and the Planning Commission went on a tour of the Expo line in the cities of Los Angeles and Culver City. The main purpose of this tour was, one, to see what an elevated station looks like, two, to see what a bike lane looks like near a set of tracks, 3, to hear what sound walls do to dampen the sound of the train next to residential, and 4, to see what a large-scale development looks like adjacent to a station, which we could potentially have at the swap meet property. As with any public transit project, cleanliness and safety of the train may be of concern. So I've asked Metro to address this in their presentation. So the purpose of this presentation is to give you an overview of the project, as I mentioned, and is in preparation for our next council meeting. At the next council meeting, we'll seek your approval of an agreement with Metro. This agreement is called a master cooperative agreement and is for the design and construction phase of the project. And with that, I will now turn it over to Ms. Meghna Khanna from Metro, who will go over our presentation. Meghna?
Thank you, John. I was just trying to share my screen here. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. As John mentioned, I'm Meghna Khanna. I'm the Senior Director at LA Metro with the Mobility Corridors Group and the Project Manager for West Santa Ana Branch. And I have the great pleasure of working with John and all your city staff on this project. As part of the presentation today, as John mentioned, I wanted to give you an overview of the West Santa Ana Branch project, specifically focusing on the alignment in Paramount, the coordination that has happened till date, and of course this coordination will continue. We have coordinated on stations, we have held a workshop specifically for residents along Prasad Avenue, south of 105, to talk about the associated alignment in that area. Also, we have coordinated with Paramount Unified School District, want to touch base on the bike trail coordination, and then just mention about the rail tours that were conducted last year and the participation from Paramount. And I know one of the concerns that we've been hearing is about the safety and security. So today I'm also joined by John Gordon, who is the Transit Security Liaison. He's with our System Security and Law Enforcement. So he'll assist me in this presentation and will be able to answer any questions. And ultimately, I want to end the presentation by providing an overall project schedule. Talking about the project, again, just as a reminder, this is a 19-mile corridor with the southern terminus in Pioneer, and the project will connect into downtown Los Angeles. As part of the project, we are currently planning 12 new stations. In addition to that, we are planning 5 new park and ride facilities. These will be primarily surface parking lots located next to these stations. One of the park and ride lot is located next to Paramount Rosecrans, and I'll get into the detail of that. And I do want to emphasize that this is one of the priority projects for Metro because the population and employment density, especially in the southern corridor, it is 5 times higher than LA County, and there are a lot of transit-dependent population. So we do see the benefit associated with bringing this light rail to the gateway cities. The project goals are definitely driven by the key goal, which is providing that mobility improvement, connecting the gateway cities to downtown Los Angeles. And while we do that, we want to make sure we continue working with local jurisdictions to ensure that the land use plans and policies are integrated with as we are designing this transit line. Again, Metro doesn't have jurisdiction over land use, so our role here is to help and support the local land use authorities. While we do that, we want to minimize environmental impacts associated with the design, construction of the project, and that's why we are preparing the draft environmental document right now. We do want to ensure cost effectiveness and financial feasibility. And at the same time, our key goals are driven by the recently adopted Metro Equity platform. We want to make sure we promote equity as we are designing this project. As part of the draft document, we are preparing a combined NEPA and CEQA document. So we are meeting the National Environmental Protection Act and the California Environmental Protection Act. And our lead authority on this project, like any federal project, is Federal Transportation Authority. And right now, as part of the draft document, we are looking at and we are evaluating 4 build alternatives. The first alternative goes all the way from Pioneer and connects into Union Station, so that's called Alternative 1. Alternative 2 is looking at connecting Pioneer to 7th and Metro, so we are evaluating this alternative in the environmental document. The third and fourth alternative, before I just mentioned, these alternatives were developed just to address the funding constraints for this project. We wanted to make sure that as we are evaluating a draft document, we wanted to give ourselves flexibility because there is a funding gap on this project, and FTA generally, when we are preparing an environmental document, they want to see any segment that we would like to start construction evaluated in the document. So just to give us flexibility, we are still trying to seek funding, connect into downtown, but we wanted to give ourselves flexibility. So we are also evaluating these interim operating segments as alternatives in the draft. The alternative 3 connects from Pioneer all the way to Slauson, which is the connection into A-Line, which is the blue line. And alternative 4 connects from Pioneer to Green Line. Again, no decisions will be made as part of the draft. It is ultimately up to the Metro Board to select the locally preferred alternative or the alternative that eventually gets built based on the funding. But we wanted to be flexible, and we just wanted to make sure we were evaluating a range of alternatives in that draft. Talking about the alignment in Paramount, it is approximately 1.9 miles, and as John pointed out, it is primarily at grade, which is like running at street level. And where you see on the map the narrow dashed line, that's where the alignment in Paramount is aerial, which is above grade, over the street. And it runs aerial in the segment by Paramount and Rosecrans, where the station is located. And then as we cross Downey Avenue, again, we will be over the street crossing Downey Avenue to address some of the traffic concerns. Talking about the stations in Paramount, the main station that is located within the boundary of City of Paramount is Paramount Rosecrans Station, located at the intersection of Paramount and Rosecrans. This particular station, again, as I pointed, it's an aerial station, so it's over the street, and it does have a surface park and ride lot to allow passengers who want to take the line to come and park at this facility and then hop onto the West Santa Ana Branch Light Rail project. We are planning approximately 480 parking spaces. Again, this is a surface lot, and we have coordinated with the city on the design of it. Also, at the same time, Metro has a parking demand model. So based on that parking demand model, this number is being evaluated in the draft. Another station which is very adjacent to City of Paramount, though it's located in Southgate, is the station at 105. It's just located north of Century Boulevard. And I do want to mention that in addition to our West Santa Ana Branch 105 station, which will be located just north of Century, we are also adding a new Green Line infill station. As you all know, 105 in this area is depressed. The existing Green Line, there are tracks there, but there is no new station. We wanted to make sure to provide that transfer activity, to provide that opportunity for people to transfer between West Santa Ana Branch and Green Line and West Santa Ana Branch. We are adding this new infill station, and that's part of the West Santa Ana Branch project. also at the 105 and C line station to capture passengers who are coming off the freeway and want to hop on to the West Santa Ana branch or Green Line. We are adding a new surface park and ride lot, which will have 320 parking spaces. One thing I do want to mention when we talk about stations and the design of the station, recently, actually in 2018, Metro Board adopted a system-wide station design. And right now, if you have seen our metro system, Gold Line, Blue Line, Expo Line, and Green Line, all these stations, the design, the safety features, they look very different. So moving forward, based on the lesson learned, we at Metro wanted to create a station design that would create a consistent, recognizable architecture so that people, when they look at the station, they recognize that they are getting onto a Metro system. In addition to that, we wanted to make sure that we elevated our standards in terms of safety. There are a lot of lessons learned, especially back in the days when Blue Line or Green Line were built. They were built to address the context, but there are a lot of lessons learned, especially we want to focus on customer safety and comfort. So the system-wide station design, the way it was developed, we looked at best practices from all over the world. And this station design was developed in close coordination, working with a lot of communities. And this was adopted by the board in 2018. And right now, the existing metro lines that are under construction, the Crenshaw line that will connect to the airport, the Purple line that will connect to Beverly Hills, and the regional connector, which will connect the Little Tokyo area and downtown to further Santa Monica or Pasadena. All these lines under construction are following the system-wide station design. So West Santa Ana branch will also follow the same system-wide station design. And the good thing I have to say about West Santa Ana branch is the system-wide station design currently that is being implemented on these different lines I just mentioned. There might be lessons learned from these lines, and we will be able to apply those lessons learned to West Santa Ana branch. Just focusing on this system-wide station design, I do want to mention the key updates that we have made to this design is the fare collection area. As you see right now, especially on Blue Line or Green Line, there are no fare gates, or the fare equipment is located in a location which creates more clutter, or it blocks the sight line, creating some safety concerns. So with systemized station design, we have addressed all that. We have tried to integrate the fare collection area into the stainless steel panel, which you see here. In addition to that, John will expand on this, but we are integrating a universal Blue Line program to expand on the emergency call boxes on our system, again, to address the safety concern. There will be some digital wayfinding, which is shown in the middle, digital map cases. And as I mentioned, the key feature is that we are adding these turnstiles, the fare gates, to ensure and limit the fare evasion. In addition to that, this fare gate will also provide opportunity to work with local communities to add artwork. As you see on the panel at the top, which is shown in the orange-yellow color, this is where we are going to work with communities to ensure that the community local context is represented through the artwork. In addition to that, this is the system-wide station design platform area. So once you've crossed the gate, you enter the paid zone, because now you've paid your fare, you've entered through the gates into the area where you are going to get on the train. Again, as you see, as part of the station design, we have tried to make sure there are clear sight lines, no obstructions. The materials that have been chosen, they are anti-graffiti. They address some of the concerns of maintenance. Also, the benches that we have selected, they ensure comfort, but at the same time, it restricts people from sleeping on it. And at the same time, these benches, the way they are supported, allows us to see through, can easily be maintained. There's no opportunity for trash to collect. And also, we will have digital wayfinding, which is shown on those black boxes to ensure that customers can see when the train is arriving. Also, the orange and the colored panels are, again, opportunity for artwork at these stations, which will be worked with the community. Also at the station, we will have CCTV cameras. The closed circuit cameras are integrated into the station canopy. Again, you see the universal blue light in the middle of the platform. So these are the system-wide station design that is being implemented. And just to give you an idea, this is the Crenshaw LAX station located right by the airport. And this is an aerial station, so a station that is located over the street. The Paramount Rosecrans station will look very similar to Crenshaw LAX Line. And this particular station is under construction. So I just wanted to show this image just to highlight that security is key, especially because this station is located right next to the airport. And we will be utilizing the same system-wide design, same features, same aerial configuration for Paramount Rosecrans. Talking about the engagement we've had till date with Paramount, we've had several community meetings along the corridor. Few of them were held in Paramount, but I do specifically want to talk about the Paramount Residents Open House that we held in September of 2019. It was attended by 91 attendees, primarily focusing on the residents that are south of 105 by Facade Avenue, because there were some concerns initially that were basically that we were planning to buy homes and we were impacting a lot of homes. And just to address those concerns, we actually have shifted the station north, which I was saying is located north of Century Boulevard, to minimize any impacts to the residential area. In addition to that, we continue to work to make sure that we can locate sound walls on the edge of the property, so to minimize impacts related to the noise. And we will continue to work with the residents as we continue to advance the design. Right now, we are at 15% level of design. As John pointed out, through the Master Cooperative Agreement, we want to advance the design to 30, 60, 90, and then ultimately 100%. But we will continue to work with the residents. This particular open house, we invited every resident, and as you see in the photograph, you might recognize some of your residents. We had digital screens, so we could focus on each individual house to show them if the project, how the project was related in relationship to their backyard. Another key feature that we have been coordinating with is with Paramount Unified School District. We have worked with them as we designed this undercrossing. The Paramount Unified School District, it supports the undercrossing design, and they have already briefed their board on their this undercrossing design and received their approval. Again, this undercrossing will be exclusively for school use. So none of the public or none of the transit users would be using this. This is exclusively for the school. The access to this undercrossing will be controlled by the school, and we will continue to work with the school district as we advance the design. But some of the feedback that we heard from the school was, could you widen the ramps, eliminate switchbacks, to improve the security and aesthetics, and we have done that, and this recent design includes those comments which have been shared with Paramount Unified School District. In addition, they wanted to see if we could have a wider pedestrian tunnel, and we have done that. And as you see, some of these examples, these examples were part of our discussion with Paramount Unified School District. And again, I do want to emphasize this undercrossing is exclusively for the school district. Currently, they have a security guard that stands by the gate to the overcrossing. So again, that pedestrian overcrossing is for school use, this undercrossing will be for school use, and we will continue to work with school districts for lighting, camera, security access. In addition to that, we have been coordinating with your staff on the bike trail. City of Paramount is working on advancing the design, and the light rail project is also at a different level of design, but we want to make sure that as we are working on the light rail project and as city is working on the bike trail project, both these projects are integrated very well. We have done that for Expo, for Gold Line, for Orange Line. We have always continued to work with cities to make sure that the bike path, which does provide that first last mile connection to the stations and is very critical for the success of any light rail project, we want to make sure that we continue working with the city and we can integrate this project. And this is just one of the renderings that Metro prepared and which will be included in one of our reports just to show how these two projects can come together. At this point, I will turn it over to John Gordon with our system security and law enforcement so he can talk about some of the safety features.
All right, thank you, Meghna. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. My name is John Gordon from System Security and Law Enforcement at Metro. So at all of our stations, we have our closed circuit TV, CCTV integrated throughout the platform. We also have emergency call boxes. As Meghna mentioned, we are currently retrofitting and changing our call boxes to the blue light system so that they're more visible, so that our patrons know where they are. And they also have CCTV cameras on them so that our dispatch can see what's going on if there's an issue or incident that happens. We also have our Transit Watch app that we have currently updated and brought in-house so that if a patron, they can download this information right onto their phone. It's a free app. If they have an incident, they type it in straight into their phone. It comes directly to our dispatch, and we can deploy our law enforcement partners straight from the app. We also have gone with the multi-agency model for law enforcement. We have our LAPD, Long Beach PD, and the sheriff, as well as our transit security and private security throughout the system. So they all hold different things that they are responsible for. So like transit security, they are unarmed, but their main purpose is to ensure that all patrons have fare. When it comes to law enforcement, they're there just for the safety of our patrons. And private security, they're there to observe and report at the stations that we may not be able to have law enforcement, but they do observe, report, so that we can get law enforcement if there is a need for law enforcement. We also have a homeless outreach program that we've partnered with PATH, People Assisting the Homeless, that they go out onto the system and they also assist with law enforcement to give resources to our homeless population that are unsheltered. So we have also, with the partnership with law enforcement, we also work closely with LAPD's HOPE team and the Sheriff's MET team, as well as Long Beach's Quality of Life team. With all of that, I will say that everyone, a lot of people are concerned about, the West Atlanta Branch line becoming like the Blue Line. It is not going to be that at all. We are very proactive with our safety and security. We have a new chief that is very proactive, and we want to ensure safety is number one. So we continuously address errors or situations for improvement. And that is all for me, Meghna.
Thank you, John. And in addition to that, I just want to add another thing that as we advance the design for West Santa Ana branch, working on the elements of the stations, the light rail, we do work with John and his team to ensure that even as we are designing these stations or elements, we are not creating safety concerns or issues based on the design elements. So I think that's the key parameter I do want to add. Definitely, Blue Line and Green Line was built back in the days when we didn't even have the regulations from Federal Transportation Authority, which are related to safety, which now we do have to address as part of our environmental document. We do have to prepare security plans and emergency plans as part of the environmental requirements. So I think there has been enhancement, and as we continue to build these new lines, there's always these new features and new parameters that we are looking at. And in addition to that, I also want to mention that in light of the COVID, the environment we are in, cleanliness, creating that safe environment has become very critical. As you might all know, Metro just established a recovery task force, and we have enhanced our cleaning, especially with the UV lights. We did require procuring these new UV lights to make sure that the buses and rail cars, as they reach the maintenance yards, they go through this thorough UV light cleaning to disinfect the. In addition to that, we are also investigating other cleaning methods, the foggers and then autonomous floor cleaning robots. And we are looking at equipping our buses and trains with hand sanitizer dispensers. So cleanliness has taken another level because of the current environment we are in. And the Metro Recovery Task Force is exclusively focused on the cleanliness. In addition to that, the Metro Recovery Task Force is also looking at or recommending to the board the customer ambassadors. So these ambassadors would be different from the law enforcement or the private security that John just mentioned. These customer ambassadors will be people who can help with the customer experience. They can help the passengers navigate through the space, provide direction, answer questions related to fare collection. So that's a program that we are exploring. San Francisco BART has a similar program, and we are in coordination with them, trying to work through. And the reason I know much about this, because I was heavily involved in understanding how women travel study, and one of the key things we heard from women traveling on a system related to safety and also balancing that policing activity on a system was looking into customer ambassador programs. So these are the efforts that are going on. And talking about rail tours, yes, it's very difficult for corridors to imagine what the light rail project would look like. So in spring of 2019, we conducted 8 metro rail tours. This included all the electeds. We also invited the residents to highlight key light rail features. We took people on the GO line and Expo line. Over 115 stakeholders participated in these tours, including Paramount residents, as you see in the photograph that's at the bottom right. Those are people from Paramount. Also, most of these photographs show residents from Paramount. I believe, and I'm just checking, Paramount residents were the third highest participation from Paramount, right after LA and Bellflower. So I really appreciate your residents participating in the tour, and also EcoRapid, Mike Kodama was able to attend these tours. And if someone is interested in looking at the rail tour videos, I do have a link here. We created a video to make sure people who were not able to join us in person, and especially in the current environment, they can go look at the video. And I do want to emphasize, yes, we do get questions. GO line goes through Pasadena, but it doesn't reflect the current environment or doesn't reflect the conditions in City of Paramount. I just wanted to bring an example. This is an example of the Metro GO line station. It's the Indiana station. It's located in East LA. Similar demographics, similar land use types, similar densities. And this is one of the stations. This is just the current system design. And as you see, it's very clean, and it includes all the safety features to ensure that patrons who are using our system feel safe. And like I said, the system-wide station design will just elevate the safety, cleanliness, maintenance for West Santa Ana branch. And last, I just wanted to talk about the overall project schedule. As John mentioned earlier, we are working very hard to release the draft document early next year. At that point, we will be conducting community meetings and public hearings to get comments from the community. And generally, when we release a draft document, we give communities 45 days to review. And as they are reviewing the documents, we do hold public hearings to get additional comments, verbal, written. After that, once we receive comments, we will go to the Metro board, and board will determine what that locally preferred alternative would be. As I mentioned, we are looking at those 4 alternatives in the draft, and board will make the decision on the locally preferred alternative. The final and the ROD, we do anticipate to get those done in late 2021. And one thing I do want to mention, any right-of-way acquisition or any property that we need for the project, that process cannot begin till we get the final EIR or the ROD from FTA. And that right-of-way process is a fair process. It follows the Reallocation Act, and it is a 2 to 3 year process that begins after the ROD. But we are trying to get this project start the construction on this project in 2023, and that requires close coordination with the cities, making sure we can advance the design so that we can start construction in 2023. And this is one of the high priority projects. Again, one of the projects that is being considered as one of the pillars for the 2028 Olympics. And with that, I can answer any questions. I just wanted to provide resources to our website, our social media.
Okay, thank you for that report. At this time, do we have questions or comments from council members?
Yes, I do, Mayor Lemons, Vice Mayor Olmos.
Okay.
If I may. Thank you, Meghna and John, for coming out and doing this presentation. Actually, it was a great refresher. And just in speaking to some of the residents, it's going to be a great addition, another option for our residents to have transportation. But going back to your safety, maybe this is a question for John. So as this progresses, will there be like a communication in regards maybe to like safety incident reports that will be given to the city to possibly address or improve, if necessary, the security requirements?
Yes, we work closely with a lot of different cities. Like if there are issues or if there wants to be a dialogue for us to work together to figure out what you all know, since it's your city, what you think we could implement, we're always open for discussion.
Thank you for that.
Anyone else?
This is Councilmember Gian. I just want to mention that the Santa Ana branch, we started the Eagle Rapid Line. We started our own subcommittee for safety, for our things that we think are a concern to our residents. And so we're also going to be working with Metro to implement some of the safety measures that we identified that could impact our community. That's all.
Anyone else? I have one question. When we took the tour, I think it was, which line was that, John, that we went on?
That was the Expo line, Mayor.
Okay, so there were some trains that came that were very quiet, because noise is an issue, especially for where the train is going to run behind neighborhoods. And some were very quiet, and other trains, there was a lot of clickety-clackety noise. Is there a difference in the type of track that's laid, or what causes that difference in the noise? It was like at the same station, but trains heading one direction were silent, trains hitting the other direction made a lot of noise.
That is an interesting point, but I would say the way we lay out the light rail tracks, they are laid out to make sure there is no noise that is being associated with the traction from the tires of the train and the light rail tracks. It could be maybe one of the train cars, the type that we were using, but moving forward, we are doing a new rail procurement. For most of our rail cars, we are changing the configuration of the seats. So hopefully with West Santa Ana branch, there will be new rail cars and the light rail track, it just keeps getting improved. So, and also to address the concerns about noise, we do noise mitigation as part of the environmental assessment. And wherever there are sensitive receptors, such as residents, schools, next to the light rail tracks, we do the noise analysis, and we will be, as part of the mitigation, if the noise level exceeds a certain level, we will be building sound walls next to those sensitive receptors. And these sound walls are generally 8 feet because, as I mentioned, sometimes the noise, as you were just saying, it could be the result of the friction of the tracks with the train cars. So those noise, 8 feet sound walls, they do mitigate that noise. We will continue working with the city as we advance the design, and also for the, as we get closer to the construction, procurement, we can come back and share more details about the train car type with the city.
Okay, appreciate that. I just, it sounds to me like you're saying, yes, there are different kinds of tracks and different weights of cars, and all those things could contribute to the noise level. Is that correct? Okay.
I would say, yeah.
Okay, so just something for the staff to keep on the tick list for that then, that, you know, that does matter. And I do have videotape from when we visited the project, so the difference in the sound, because I want to make sure, especially where it runs behind the residential properties, that every possible avenue that we can pursue to mitigate the noise is taken into consideration.
Sure, and I do want to also mention that for this project, we are contemplating public-private partnerships. So we will be bringing a developer on board to build the line, operate the line, maintain the line. So again, those standards would be higher, but I will ensure as we advance the design and as we get closer to the construction and procurement for those vehicle types, we continue to work with your staff.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and higher standards are always better. We appreciate that. Right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we move on? All right, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Magna.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, which is the proposed mini pitch soccer court. We'll have the report, then we'll hear from the speaker before we have discussion.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and we did get another speaker's card for that item as well, so we now have 2. Okay, as you'll see in a second from some of the photos in our next presentation, there's a part of Dills Park where we have a difficult time keeping up the grass green because there's just so much wear and tear from soccer play. Well, an opportunity has come up before us to permanently fix this area of the park by replacing this area with a mini pitch soccer court. And the good part about it is that a grant that we were recently awarded will help us pay for this item. But before we move forward with the project, we need your approval on the use of reserve funds for our portion of the project, and also your approval to accept the grant funds. So with that, I will turn it over to our Community Services and Recreation Director, Mr. David Johnson, who will handle the item. Dave?
Thank you, John, Mayor and council members. So as John mentioned tonight, we have for your consideration the opportunity to add another sports amenity at a city park. In this case, it's a mini pitch soccer court at Dills Park in the Sands neighborhood. Go. A mini pitch soccer court is just another term for a futsal court. The two terms are interchangeable for us. Both are small, hard surface soccer court, approximately the size of a basketball court. We currently have 2 futsal courts at Paramount Park, If the council agrees to this project, it would give us the community, or give our community, a similar type court on the other side of town. Now, unlike the Paramount Park futsal courts, which are at a park with substantial parking and they're off a major boulevard, the proposed court at Dills Park is, like the park itself, intended to attract residents from the surrounding walking distance neighborhood. This particular grant is from the U.S. Soccer Foundation and the Target Corporation in the amount of $60,000. The funds would be used to provide the court with sport lighting, built-in goals, fencing, and acrylic court surface that provides the court with its soccer lines. Oh, get closer. Okay. Let's see. The grant requires that the site improvements be installed at either an existing hard surface or on a new concrete surface. An existing hard surface would be something like an unused parking lot or a basketball court. Since our parks do not have enough parking as it is, we did not consider this to be an option. We also did not consider repurposing an existing basketball court, since we did not want to lose this type of sports amenity at a park or at parks that already have them. So we decided to apply for the grant with the idea that we would have to construct a new concrete pad at an existing park space. We chose Dills Park's north field because it has plenty of open space and is connected to the north loop of the park trail and has exercise stations nearby. We did not look at the south field at Dills Park because it is restricted to passive use per the grant funds used for its development. Now, as you can see from this aerial, the north field at Dills Park is already heavily used for soccer, as indicated by the multiple wear patterns on the turf. What we are essentially trying to do here is to add a hard surface soccer court to replace the existing soccer use on this area of the turf. This will provide the park with a more usable and dedicated surface for soccer and save on the maintenance associated with the wear and tear of the turf. This field is also adjacent to the Rio Puente Mobile Home Park, outlined in red on this slide, which has their own entrance gate into the park as indicated at the top of that aerial map. Parking issues have existed on San Carlos Street that dead ends near the north field, and on San Luis Street, which dead ends near the south field since the park reopened in 2009. Our public safety team is called out to assist with parking citations when these parking issues do arise. The addition of this mini soccer pitch court, again, just replaces what is a current soccer use on the existing turf area. The cost for the concrete pad is $94,440. An additional 12 by 12 foot walkway around the court can be added for $28,800, which would provide a safe and stable surface for spectators or waiting players around the court. To create construction plans for the project, along with the inspection during construction, we would need to allocate $26,000 for our in-house engineering firm, Wildan & Associates, to provide these services. The total cost to the city would be $120,440 for the concrete pad without the additional walkway, or $149,240 with the additional 12 by 12 foot walkway. We would look to allocate funds for this project from our Capital Improvement Program Reserve Fund as a mid-year budget adjustment if City Council approves the project tonight. We are recommending the concrete pad and the additional 12 by 12 foot walkway at a city cost of $149,240. This project will require a bid process, and if approved, will return to the City Council as an award for bid. To notify the neighborhood of this potential project, we walked the surrounding neighborhood on July 28th. We handed out flyers at approximately 134 homes, including the Rio Puente mobile home units. Respondents had the ability to phone in their comments or email their comments to a dedicated email address that was listed on the flyer that was in English and in Spanish. 6 comments were received, either by, again, phone call or by email. 4 expressed that they were in favor of the courts, 1 expressed opposition, and 1 was non-committal. Within those 6 responses, there were 3 expressions of concern about parking and 2 expressed concerns about loitering and littering. We did speak to the manager of the Rio Puente Mobile Home Park. He was very excited at the possibility of a dedicated soccer mini pitch for the children that reside at the mobile home park. and that it would be within easy access of their point of entry into the park. As mentioned previously, parking issues have been present since the park reopened in 2009 and has been an issue for our public safety team to deal with as it arises on an individual basis. It does not occur all the time. These maps that you're looking at here represent the locations that U.S. Soccer has been able to install mini pitches around the country. The map on the left shows a broad distribution across the United States, and the map on the right shows the mini pitches installed in nearby cities. The U.S. Soccer Foundation has completed 300 mini pitch projects throughout the country with a goal of completing 1,000 such projects by 2026. This particular grant of $60,000 is courtesy of their current sponsor, the Target Corporation. We are hoping to add Paramount to their list and provide a stable hard court surface to replace the worn grass and dirt patches that currently function as a soccer space at the park. To summarize the grant, it provides fencing around the court, built-in goals, acrylic sport surfacing, and importantly, lighting. Lighting is important given the history of recreational soccer in this particular area. When we originally reopened Dills Park, we actually enforced the 8 p.m. closure. During daylight savings times, families complained that their kids didn't have enough time to play on the park, that it should go past 8 o'clock. So we met with the residents of the Rio Puente Mobile Home Park, and we agreed to let the kids play past the normal park closure hours during those months. Now, being able to use the soccer space for their kids was incredibly important to these families. Lighting at the proposed soccer facility that you have before you tonight will allow longer use of this space during non-daylight saving hours and create more play opportunities year-round for the kids. The U.S. Soccer Foundation's Soccer for Success program is something the agreement allows us to tap into, but is not a requirement in the agreement. The agreement does allow the U.S. Soccer Foundation to hold one event per year for 5 years for either media or training purposes. Should such an event occur or be requested, we would coordinate with U.S. Soccer to provide off-site parking and transit to the court. And finally, the agreement requires that the court have the logos of the U.S. Soccer Foundation, the Target Corporation, as well as our own city logo. So the recommended actions before you tonight are to approve the allocation of CIP reserve funds in the amount of $149,240 for the construction of a concrete pad for the development of a mini pitch soccer court at Dills Park. If you agree to approve that allocation, we would ask that you would then approve the agreement for acceptance of grant funds from the U.S. Soccer Foundation for the development of that mini pitch at Dills Park. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Can we hear from the speakers, please?
Sure, Madam Mayor. We will first go to the emailed speaker. Email comment, and then we'll go to the verbal comment. So for the email comment, I will introduce our City Clerk, Ms. Heidi Luce, who will read the comment. Ms. Luce?
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. This comment is from Viviano Favela, who is a Paramount resident on San Luis Street. Dear City Council, before the City Council approves this mini pitch soccer court at Dills Park, I would like you to consider our parking situation around the Dills Park area. When the Dills Park expansion project around 2017 was finished, we were left with a nice park that attracted many residents. It also attracted people from other areas that contribute to the then unexpected parking congestion in the area. Many evenings when we look for parking, there are people taking our street parking that come from other neighborhoods to play and partake in unpermitted pickup games and sports team practices. Parks and Rec, along with Public Safety and the Sheriff's Department, have been out there on many occasions to deal with the double parking, blocking of driveways, blocking in the red zones, and general nuisances that this congestion due to lack of parking creates. Although you may think that you are helping our community with a new mini pitch soccer field, the truth is that this will attract people with cars who need somewhere to park. Please do not go forward with this without addressing the foreseen parking chaos that this will create. Thank you. That concludes the written comment.
Okay, we have a speaker on for the phone.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Mr. Eddie Cruz will be speaking on item number 5. Let me get him over the phone. One moment, please.
Hello.
Good evening. This is the City of Paramount calling for Eddie Cruz.
This is you.
Hi, Mr. Cruz. I'm contacting you regarding your request for public comment for agenda item number 5 for the Paramount City Council meeting. You're now being broadcast live to the City Council. Your public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll give you notice when you have 20 seconds left. Your time starts now.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I just want to express my concern for the residents in the Dills Park area of the Sands neighborhood. Traffic's already a nightmare in that corner. What do you have planned to help us with this should you approve the court? That is all that I have. I yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Any other speakers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll move to council discussion. Are there questions or comments for staff?
Vice Mayor, this is, go ahead, Vilma, go ahead.
This is Councilmember Cuellar Stallings. David, you showed on one of the slides that where there's going to be an entrance to the park at the mobile park. Those parking spaces that are in the black wall, are those existing parking right now?
Yes, Councilmember, those are existing parking that belong to the mobile home park, and you would need access into the mobile home park to park there.
So it's only access to the mobile home park, correct?
Yes, those are parking stalls that belong to the mobile home park, and you would need to be able to get into the mobile home park to park there. And then the entrance gate, which you're referring to, is an existing gate that allows them to enter onto the park.
Okay, and then the fence. Are you going to provide a fence all around the facility of the mini park soccer? For security?
No, the fence that goes around it is really more of an enclosure to keep the ball in play. It is not actually a security fence. But we would
more of an enclosure.
Yeah, but the lighting is something that we control the timer on, and that would be able to limit, obviously, playability of that court if we do not turn the lights on at certain hours.
Okay, and then the entrance on San Carlos. Do you have a walkway that goes will be going all the way to the soccer?
Yes, if the council approves the court and the 12 by 12 additional walkway, that concrete would then go up to where we have what is decomposed granite. And so when you exit from the trail or from a walkway off San Carlos, you enter onto that decomposed granite, which is existing, which would then connect to the 12 by 12 walkway around the court.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else with a question?
I have a question. This is Councilmember Aguayo. When I think it was July 28th, that said that we had city go out there to talk to some of the residents. What was the response from them? Because if we received 6 responses via email or telephone, that's a little over 4% of the people in that area. So just what kind of responses did the city receive when they were out there walking?
Councilmember Aguayo, when staff went around handing out the flyers, there was not actually a lot of engagement with residents. It was mostly left at their doorstep, or we handed it to a resident, but not a lot of engagement. We had more engagement, though, with the Rio Puente Mobile Home Park manager, who they have a lot. He knows that he has a lot of children in that mobile home park, and they do play at Dills Park. He was the one that gave us a lot of positive feedback that would be a welcome addition to the park.
Anyone?
I have another question. I'm sorry.
Cuellar?
Yes, Cuellar Stallings. What are going to be the hours of this facility, or this mini soccer? What are your hours that you're going to be able? Say, for example, if I want to take my granddaughter, are you going to have specific hours? You're going to be open, like, say, from noon till 6 o'clock in the evening, or what are you going to?
Councilmember, the hours of the park will dictate the use hours of that facility. So like anything else on the park, it will be open when the park opens at at dawn, and then closes at 8 p.m., which is the stated closure time of all our parks. So if you want to use the exercise stations, the trails, anything there is really supposed to be shut down at 8 o'clock at night.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Mayor Lemons, this is almost. Dave, I think this is a great concept, but I think that parking is going to be a great issue, not just for your staff, but it's going to be a huge issue for public safety as well, getting all those calls. Is there any option B of providing, I mean, I know I'm just like probably asking for the moon right now. Is there any part on that land where we can add some parking for this project?
Council member, well, I'm going to turn it over probably to John or to the Public Safety Director, Adriana Lopez, for a possible option. But I just do want to point out again that the soccer's being played there now. This does not change that. This just gives them a more stable, usable surface to play soccer. So the situation does not get worse. It just remains the same, which is an existing issue that we deal with on an intermittent basis. Though I think let me hand it over to the Public Safety Director, Adriana Lopez, who might have some help here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. This is something that I was discussing with John Moreno, that since we are restructuring the park, we could always look at our resident permit parking or preferential parking to implement there. One of the conditions is, are we attracting people from outside of the immediate area to that park? And if it meets the criteria, then we can go ahead and move forward with resident permit parking. In regards to the activity, a lot of the times what happens is that if we introduce something different, it's always educational. We could go out there and just educate the people about parking legally. And then, of course, once we educate and we give warnings, then we can start citing. It's something that we deal with all the time. It's part of our job, and we would be able to handle any influx of parking there.
Madam Mayor and Council, if I may, this is John Moreno. I just switched the sides over to where you could see the aerial view now on your screen. That part of San Carlos, we could institute, as Public Safety Director Lopez mentioned, resident permit parking. If you notice on the aerial in front of you where it says San Carlos, where the O and the S is, that is another street that runs perpendicular to San Carlos. So we're at T's right there. So we can institute resident permit parking from that point to the left, to the west into Dills Park. So it would only be for those maybe 5 to 6 homes that are in that area that would be impacted for that. We can go a little further east, past the intersection there, but at this point we would want, if the council so desires, we would want to maybe try it just for that portion of the cul-de-sac.
Before we proceed, I just once again want to say, if your mic is not muted when you're not speaking, please do so. There's a lot of background noise happening here. So mute your mic if you're not speaking. Anyone else have a comment or a question for staff?
Yes, I do. This is Councilmember Guillen.
Okay.
Dave, I had a couple questions in regards to the parking as well that has pretty much been covered. But I wanted to know, on the existing futsal courts that we have now, are those being used by people who play soccer, like our teams, the PYSO and
yes.
actual soccer clubs?
Yes, Councilmember Guillen, it is used on a regular basis. We have it being used by PYSO. It's being used by the high school soccer team. It's being used by the general public. It's again, they're closed right now because of COVID. But during normal hours, on the weekends, after school, and then certainly during the summer, you see an uptick in use, and it's used quite frequently, actually.
So will this court be implemented in usage space for the soccer team?
No, it would not, because then that would draw in people who would have to drive from various parts of the city and have to find parking. So no, we would not actually allow that or permit it. It would be, again, intended for the neighborhood kids to use as a within walking distance. We would not encourage or allow permitted use of that court.
Okay, because that was my concern, that whenever you build a nice facility, of course other people are going to want to come in and use it. So it is going to impact parking. simply because it's going to be a very nice facility. So I think that, you know, we really need to address parking. That's all I have to say for now.
Okay, I'd like to continue discussion on this. The only thing that I want to add to the discussion that I'm hearing, I've certainly heard what the speakers have to say and empathize with the parking issue. The decision for me is that the soccer fields already exist there, but they cannot be well maintained because of the use that they get. And so what you're talking about is upgrading an existing facility, basically, to where the problem with keeping the greenery up doesn't become a problem anymore. And the people that are already using those fields and the neighborhood kids would have a nicer facility to use. And restricting it to the people in the neighborhood and not the kind of professional, well, I shouldn't even say professional, the kind of organized sports that we have. If I understood you correctly, David, those would be restricted. They would not be allowed because it would just be for neighborhood use and neighborhood kids. Is that correct?
You have that correct, Mayor. Yes.
So that's how I see it, is upgrading an existing facility where something's already happening there, and we can give them something much nicer to play in. And by restricting it from the organized sports should not attract people in their cars. With that said, further discussion on this? A motion?
I have another question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
This is Councilmember Cuellar Stallings. John, just clarification. You're saying on San Carlos, those homes that are closest to the park will get a permit parking only. And also because I remember when a few months back when I was walking in the neighborhood, that there's also that small street. Are you going to provide permit parking for them also, sir?
In answer to your first question, yes, we would do San Carlos, or we would look at, explore, because it would have to go before Public Safety Commission and then the council for approval. But we would look at permit parking in that part of the cul-de-sac on San Carlos Street, if that is the council's pleasure, similar to what we have existing on San Luis Street. If you recall that, or that actually came up a couple of years ago, prior to you being on council, the same exact thing. There was attracting a lot of people from the outside to the park, and we instituted permit parking on San Luis west of San Antonio. So it's helped. There are times when people do park there, and the residents do call in to ticket. And I am so sorry, Councilmember Cuellar Stallings. What was your second question?
Oh, were you going to be able to provide permits also for that street, that cul-de-sac? Is that a cul-de-sac street that goes into San Carlos, or a small street?
Yeah, so San Carlos, if approved, they would get permits, and it would be resident permit parking only.
Okay, where the O and the S's, you mentioned that there's a small street?
Yeah, so thank you, I got it. Okay, so yeah, that I believe is San Antonio Street that runs down. We would not look at San Antonio at this point unless, again, if the council wants to adjust that. But our recommendation would be to try everything west of San Antonio Street on San Carlos. Again, however, if the council wants to go further down and if the neighborhood wants it, we would survey and see how how far the residents would want to go.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Littman, I'd like to add one more thing, because I think what we need to also consider is we're talking about people playing soccer on a grass field right now. We're getting ready to build this great playing field for them, so you're going to attract way more people. So it's not going to be the same people coming from the neighborhood. It's going to be people coming to play, because we know people in Paramount love to play soccer.
Yeah.
So what about are we able, Dave, I know we've had discussion before about allocating time for people to play, almost like a library book. You check it in, check it out. That way, games, maybe you get a game for 2 hours and then the next team comes in. How are you going to control the use of those fields?
Well, I mean, that, Vice Mayor, almost that is an option. But again, I honestly, in my professional opinion, yeah, for a month or so, it'll be the newest shiny toy, and then it'll go back to normal use. I really don't see that this is, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful court. It's going to be great for that community, but it's, again, it's not something that we're going to market out there. It's not something we're going to permit. And so after it's not a new shiny toy anymore, I really do not see it being really used other than the existing groups that are coming there to play soccer.
I'd like to make a suggestion and see how the council feels about it. I'm a resident, like I said, not to put it in only because what do we do then? We let the park always stay as it is and never enhance it and make it better for the residents because it might attract more people. So that's one consideration because we always want to improve our facilities. But there seems to be, I think the greatest question is, what do the majority of the residents over there want? And I don't think we have a clear vision of that because of the low return on the surveys. Could we do, time-wise with the grant, a more in-depth survey, a door-to-door one, and get a better feel and explanation to the public over there and see if this is what they really want? How does that sound to everybody? How does that work with staff? Is it possible?
Madam Mayor, this is John. I understand we are up against a clock on the grant. We have to notify Target and the U.S. Soccer Foundation whether or not we want the grant. If we don't accept, they will award to another agency, from what I'm told.
And what's the deadline for that?
Mr. Johnson?
If you notice on the grant, it actually indicates they wanted an answer before August 17th. We did talk to them. They did give us an extension, but they're looking to get an answer before the end of August.
So we would have time then if the council decides to go that way, would we not?
Your next meeting is September 1st, so you would not.
Oh, yeah, I'm behind. You're absolutely right. Okay. So we'll leave it at that unless you have more questions, council. If we don't have a motion, the item would die from lack of a motion or more direction to staff.
Again, I'm for this, Mayor. I'm totally for it. I think it's going to, bring light to our community over there on the sands. But I think we just need a plan. What could be our plan B for the time allocation? That way that there's not 100 people playing at the same time. Even in the first couple months, Dave, it's going to be busy.
Vice Mayor,
how are you going to maintain the parking there?
Let's approve the project, and then we will come up with a plan. And if it's an issue of putting staff out there to manage the use and to manage parking, then that is something we'll certainly do. And I believe Public Safety Director Adriana Lopez has another comment.
Definitely, we could address it. Like I mentioned before, anytime we have an improvement anywhere, we deal with the increase of parking. And it's a matter of educating our residents where they can and cannot park. And then we usually just get through that, and then we'll develop a cycle of when we're going to see increased activity, and we'll put our CSOs out there in parking enforcement, with the first goal being educating and warning, and then second would be to enforce.
Perfect, there's a plan.
And again, we could, if the council does desire, we could start the process of the resident permit parking, if that is the desire of the council, and that would involve a survey of the residents asking whether or not they want it for that area.
Exactly. Yeah, I started to say, well, we don't want to start it without speaking to the residents and see if that's what they want. So why don't we talk then next, if we take Vice Mayor Olmos's proposal, when would construction start, and when could staff be back to us with a plan for a time management and parking management issue?
Mayor Lemons, because we'll go through a bid process and a design process, so we're 3 to 4 months away before ever breaking ground, so we have plenty of time to come up with some kind of mitigation strategies to deal with the issue.
Okay, any comments about Vice Mayor Olmos's suggestion that we move forward with the plan move forward with the project, but start with a limited use of the facility, monitored by staff until we see the impact and go from there.
This Councilmember Quer-Stallings, I'm in agreement with that.
This is Councilmember Gian. I just have one more question for Dave. Dave, the people who are using the park right now for soccer, are they residents or are they people who come in to practice for their teams?
Again, I can only speak to what I have seen. The time, and I spent a lot of time at Dills Park when it was first constructed. It was primarily kids coming from the local neighborhoods. Now, we did see times where cars were coming from the outside. I don't know if I couldn't tell you if they were coming from another community or someplace within Paramount, but the vast majority of use that I saw were kids coming from the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so would someone like, this is going to be an A and B item. Would somebody like to make a motion on item A?
This is Councilmember Quer-Stallings. I'll make a motion to approve the item A,
which is the allocation of capital improvement reserve funds for construction of a concrete pad for the development of a mini pitch soccer court at Dills Park. Do I have a second?
I have a second with the addition that we will be adding a parking strategy as well.
We have a motion from Quer-Stallings and a second from Vice Mayor Olmos, with the caveat that we come back with a strategy for time use and parking in the area. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Gian?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer-Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
Yes.
Mayor Lemons?
Yes. Okay, item B, agreement for acceptance of grants from the U.S. Soccer Foundation. Do I have a motion?
This is Councilmember Quer-Stallings. I move the item.
I'll second. This is Olmos.
Moved by Quer-Stallings, seconded by Vice Mayor Olmos. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Gian?
Yes.
Councilmember Quer-Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
Yes.
Mayor Lemons?
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, an oral report on the 2020 4th of July.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. As we do every year, we review with the City Council the post-4th of July numbers. As we all know, this 4th of July season was much different season than previous years. So we wanted to take some time to compile the numbers and bring them to you to go over them with you. So with that, I will turn it over to our Public Safety Director, Ms. Adriana Lopez, who will handle the item. Adriana?
Thank you, John. Let me go ahead and... I'm sorry, I'm getting to the beginning part of my slide. There we go. Hopefully you could see my slide now. Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I wanted to bring this item before you, like John mentioned. We do bring this item before you every year. This year it's a little bit later than usual, but we wanted to present a comprehensive report to you. So every year, like John mentioned, the city and the Sheriff's Department, we deploy a very extensive 4th of July education and enforcement campaign. It usually starts on July 1st through July 5th, but as I progress in my presentation, I will explain to you some of the things that we did differently. You may recall that last year, July 2019, the City Council directed staff to research and present a proposal to increase fireworks citation amounts. So what we did is we gathered a lot of information and came before you. And in January of 2020, the City Council approved Resolution 20 001, which increased the firework fines and also established an appeal process. As you may recall, our fines used to be $1,000, so Resolution 20001 increased the fines from $1,000 to $2,000 for using or possessing illegal fireworks. And it increased the fine from $1,000 to $5,000 for selling illegal fireworks. So one of the things that we really focused on was our education campaign. So we spend a lot of time and effort making sure that our residents and people that were visiting Paramount on the 4th of July knew exactly the changes that occurred with the resolution. So what we did is we had flyers at the city facilities, which included City Hall, the City Yard, and the Paramount Sheriff's Station. These flyers were in Spanish and English. In addition, the firework vendors for use the Safe and Sane stands were mandated to hand out a fireworks flyer with this information to anyone who bought at their stands. Once again, this was also in Spanish. We distributed door hangers in specific neighborhoods where we had numerous complaints. We also had social media postings. We had billboard signs. Those are 4x8s that were rotated throughout the cities, mostly at our city parks. In addition, we had a street banner that was in English only, but that was something that we actually put up every year, and it lets people know what the fine amount would be. This year, what we did, we also utilized, since the kids were out of school, we utilized the PUSD e-board on the corner of Downey and Rosecrans, and we let people know the increased amount as well. And this year we had 6 electronic measure boards that were out and about throughout the city, rotated in different directions, educating people of the increased amount as well. So we really took our time and put a lot of effort in making sure that people knew of the changes. Okay, so I want to just cover some of the things that we did with our fireworks suppression units. And I say fireworks suppression units because these were dedicated patrol cars that were responding to illegal fireworks, and they were also conducting patrol checks of different areas that had reported the use of illegal fireworks. We, public safety, conducted or created a very comprehensive patrol check list, and those were calls that were coming in with multiple complaints, and they were being handed to the deputies that were assigned to the fireworks suppression team on a daily basis. We also took into account a lot of the community feedback and identified hotspots. This year, what we did is we broke things down a little bit more than we normally do. As I mentioned, historically, our dedicated enforcement started on July 1st. The information that I'm going to present to you right now is from June 1st through July 5th. So during that time frame, the sheriff's dispatcher received 617 calls for illegal fireworks, and we broke it down 2 weeks. So week 1, between June 12th and the 14th, we had 71 calls, and then actually that should be 18. And then week 2 was from June 18th through the 21st, and that was 123 calls. And then week 3 is 81 calls. And I just want to point out that these are, I'm sorry, for the weekend, so that 14th is correct. But the third week, June 26th through the 28th, I want to point out that on June 28th, it's the first day that Safe and Sane fireworks can be sold. Week 4, as we get closer to the holiday, and once again, this is a weekend, we had 149 calls. And just to give you additional information, from June 28th, which was the first day that Safe and Sane fireworks could be sold, to July 4th, we had 176 calls. And I'll break that down a little bit more. So if you look at this slide, this is actually a bar chart that is going to show you the calls that we received. So if you look at the blue lines, those are actually the calls. And then the bars that are red, those are the amount of citations that were issued. And then at the bottom right-hand corner, I outline when safe and sane fireworks were occurring, the sales of the fireworks were occurring. So as you could see, the last week as it gets closer to the holiday, that's where the calls and also citations increase significantly. What we did is during the enforcement campaign weekends, we looked at when the calls were coming in, and the sheriff dispatchers received the majority of the calls of illegal fireworks from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., with 8 p.m. as the peak period. At the bottom, those are military time. And I know this is a lot of information, so I am kind of pausing at each slide. So from June 12th through July 5th, once again, we started earlier, much earlier this year. The fireworks suppression units issued 70 fireworks citations, 41 citations on the actual holiday. Now, we issued 54 citations for using or possessing illegal fireworks. There were 15 citations that were issued for selling illegal fireworks, and then 1 citation for using safe and sane outside of the permitted dates, which are July 3rd and 4th. Now, something interesting that we found out is that for the use of illegal fireworks, 53% were issued to Paramount residents, which is the majority, and 47% were issued to non-Paramount residents. And the 15 citations that were issued for selling illegal fireworks, they were all non-Paramount residents. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is that within the citation process, we did establish, or the resolution, we did establish a very comprehensive appeal process. So here, this slide highlights what the appeal process is. So a resident has 15 days from when the citation was issued to appeal the citation. So they would have to submit something in writing. With the written appeal process, they have to deposit the fine amount. If the appeal is granted, then we do have an administrative hearing. And one of the things that I really want to highlight is that if somebody fails to pay the citation, this does not turn into an arrest warrant. This is an administrative citation, so it's strictly, it goes into civil collections, and there is a process with that as well. But it does not turn into an arrest warrant. In total, the fireworks suppression team issued, like we mentioned, 70 citations, which equaled $183,250. We had 1 citation for $250, and that one was the one for using safe and sane outside of the permitted dates. $75,000 for using illegal fireworks, and then $108,000 for using or possessing illegal fireworks. This gives you a history of when we started issuing administrative citations. And as you could see, in the beginning in 2015, deputies issued 67 citations and kind of went down for a couple of years. We were in the 40s, and then this year it was back to 70. And as you could see here, our recovery rate is more or less in the high 50s, low 60s in terms of percentile. And this is always changing. So just because at this point, let's say 2018, it shows that we've collected slightly over $25,000. It still can go up because people are on payment plans, or people decide to come back and pay us that amount. And this is just a summary of what we did this year. As you can see here, from June 12th through July 14th, Public Safety dedicated 168 hours of overtime to address the use of illegal fireworks, and these were a direct result of the complaints from our Paramount residents. And the dedicated fireworks suppression units responded to an average of 85% of the calls for the use of illegal fireworks. The remaining 15%, they were addressed by patrol deputies. Something that we introduced this year, and we increased the reward for someone who reported the illegal use of fireworks. It did have to lead to the issuance of an administrative citation, and this year we issued 3 in the amount of $500. So that's what we did in 2020. We still have other things that we have to do, and some of our efforts, our future efforts, include I am working with the surrounding public safety directors to see what they saw and if they have any type of plan to address the use of illegal fireworks, as well as the sales of Safe and Sane. Once I get that information, then we'll go ahead and conduct a fireworks summit. We were hoping to conduct this after we're allowed to meet in person. What we would like to do is give the community an opportunity to voice their concerns, and in order to do so, we feel it would be better in a setting where the people can come in a type of a town hall setting. In addition, we're still looking at the host fee proposal, which basically is a fine for anybody who's hosting a party or some type of gathering where illegal fireworks are being used. This is a receive and file, so I would be more than happy to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Any questions? Okay, thank you for that report, Adriana. We're going to move on to item 7, which is a public hearing.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Adriana Lopez, our Public Safety Director, will handle this item. Adriana?
Okay.
Thank you, John. Yes, Madam Mayor and council members, since 1997, the City of Paramount has been a grant recipient of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. This grant is a federal grant, and it's simply known or referred to as JAG. The United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, funds the JAG program to support state, local, and tribal law enforcement efforts to prevent or reduce crime. The grant allocation amounts vary among cities each year and are determined based on criminal statistics and population formula. The JAG program does not require a local fund match. However, the JAG program does require that we take the following actions. 1, we have to develop a grant project, which we did. 2, we have to conduct a public hearing and to discuss the proposed funds, which we're doing tonight. And then also, we have to prepare quarterly financial and progress reports. The City of Paramount was allocated $20,732 in JAG 2020 funds. And historically, these funds have been used for parole and probation operations. However, this year, the city seeks to purchase equipment with these funds. We are proposing the purchase of 1 license plate reader XL Premium Speed Radar, and I'll show you what that looks like. These trailers are used to capture license plates of stolen vehicles, stolen plates, vehicles that have warrants, and when the trailer captures a license plate of this nature, patrol deputies are notified via their MDC, which stands for, it's a mobile digital computer, and those are the computers that are in their vehicles. The trailer is also equipped, as you can see here, with an electronic message board advising motorists of their speed. We believe this type of trailer will decrease auto theft, deter speeding and reckless driving. which includes the sideshows and also the motorists who are doing donuts. The trailer has the ability to capture license plates of these violators. Should the City Council approve the purchase of the trailer, an adjustment will be made to the mid-year budget to include the total purchase price of $55,500. The grant would cover $20,732, and then the remaining balance of approximately $35,000 will be covered by the general fund. It is recommended that the City Council conduct a public hearing and authorize the use of these grant funds to pay for the equipment specified in this report. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Adrienne. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item?
Madam Mayor, there have been no comments submitted for this item.
Okay, and nothing in opposition?
Nothing in opposition either.
Okay, any discussion from council?
Nope, I make a motion to close the public hearing. This is Olmos.
This is Councilmember Aguayo. I second it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Olmos, seconded by Councilmember Aguayo to close the public hearing. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
Yes.
Mayor Lemons?
Yes. And now I need a motion on the item.
This is Cuellar Stallings. I motion for the item to be moved.
Gillen, second.
Been moved by Cuellar Stallings to authorize the use of the grant funds to pay for the program specified in this report, seconded by Councilmember Guillen. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
Yes.
Mayor Lemons?
Yes. Next item is an agreement with the Los Angeles County Register Recorder's Office for placing 24-hour vote by mail boxes. Again, let me remind you to please mute your device if you're not speaking. There's a 24-hour vote by mail drop-off at Paramount Community Center. We have a report, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. As we know, the November election is quickly approaching us, and with that, LA County Registrar Recorder's Office is wanting to deploy 24-hour vote by mail boxes throughout the county. So with that, I will turn it over to our city clerk, Ms. Heidi Luce, who will handle the item. Heidi?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you this evening, as John mentioned, is a request from the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder County Clerk's Office to install a permanent 24-hour vote-by-mail ballot drop box at the Paramount Park Community Center. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, voters will see a slightly different voting process beginning with the November 2020 general election. And for the first time in California history, all registered voters will be mailed a vote-by-mail ballot. To provide voters with additional options to safely drop off their vote-by-mail ballots
This is not a valid menu option.
at familiar and convenient locations in their communities, the county is expanding the number of 24-hour vote-by-mail ballot drop box locations throughout the county. These boxes allow voters to drop off their ballots at any time without having in-person contact. The Paramount Library and Paramount Park Community Center were identified by the Registrar Recorder County Clerk's Office as ideal locations to serve as 24-hour vote-by-mail ballot drop-off locations in our city. And the county is requesting the city's approval for the Paramount Park Community Center location. Some of the features and benefits of the drop box include they are available to voters 24 hours a day, they are safe and secure, and ADA accessible. The boxes also help ensure employees and voters comply with COVID-19 social distancing requirements. Additionally, the Registrar Recorder County Clerk's Office has a robust media campaign planned around vote-by-mail options, and the city will augment those efforts through our various communication and social media tools. As far as the agreement goes, the boxes will be installed at no cost to the city. All monitoring and maintenance costs will be handled by the Registrar Recorder County Clerk's Office, and the agreement will be for a 5-year term through the 2024 election cycle. At the end of the agreement, the Registrar Recorder County Clerk's Office will remove the box and return the site to its original condition. This next slide provides some images of the proposed location and what the box will look like. In the upper left-hand corner is an aerial view of the Paramount Park Community Center, and the arrow points to a red box, which is the location where they would like to install the box. The photo just below that, with another red rectangle, shows what the location would look like from the street level. And that's the pullout at the front of the Paramount Park Community Center, just next to the flagpole. If you look to the next photo above that one is the footprint of the location of the box. So that gives you an idea of how much space it will actually take up. So they're not huge. And then the very far right photo or graphic image shows you what the box will look like. So with that, it is recommended that the City Council approve the Vote Center Facility Dropbox Use Agreement with the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder County Clerk for placement of a 24-hour vote-by-mail ballot drop box at the Paramount Park Community Center, and authorize the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Heidi. Are there questions?
Vice Mayor, I just have one.
Sure.
Heidi, so I noticed that the county recorder identified 2 spots, the Paramount Community Center and the library. Is there any reason that we're getting one?
You mean a city facility that is only getting one?
Yeah, so it says that the recorder office identified 2 locations, Paramount Community Center and the library. But I noticed we're only getting 1 box.
No, they are putting one at the library. They don't need our approval to do that one. I apologize.
Got it.
Yeah, so
Got it. Thank
there
you for
will
that.
be 2 in our city.
It's because the other one's a county facility, correct?
That is correct.
Correct.
I should have made that clear.
It's clear now.
Got it, Heidi.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, almost.
Second, Aguayo. Stallings.
Moved by Vice Mayor Olmos, seconded by Aguayo. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuellar Stallings?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Olmos?
Yes.
Mayor Lemons?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to comments and committee reports from council members. And we're going to start with you, Vice Mayor Olmos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I just want to say kudos to the staff for the Around Town. I have been receiving such great feedback of how resourceful this was. They loved that it was bilingual. And the only takeaway, John, that I'm going to ask is they loved how all the important phone numbers were in one section. And maybe something to think about, that maybe we could do that as a, like a little giveaway, as a magnet or something, because they just really, that just provided all of the city's, contacts in one place. So kudos to the team for putting that together. As for my committee reports, California Contract Cities Board meeting was held this month. We had a guest speaker of Sheriff Villanueva that came out to speak about a new program. It's called the Model of Engagement Program. I guess this will be a training component where they're going to be working on relationships and communication to the people that they serve. So more to come on that. And I also wanted to remind my colleagues about the Fall Education Summit that California Contract Cities will be hosting in the month of September. There's some great topics about contract law, November ballot discussions. So if you're interested, please sign up for those. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Aguayo.
Yeah, so just the next few days are going to be still going to be hot. So just, check on elderly neighbors, drink a lot of water, that type of thing. Just to all the teachers, administrators, parents, and of course the students, just wishing them a great new school year. Paramount officially starts, the 2021 school year tomorrow. And I just hope that we can all find the positive and make the best out of an interesting start to the school year. And actually, finally, please, be sure to get your census in. I can't stress enough how important it is. We all have to be counted, and that our numbers are tied directly to the funding we're going to receive. So please get those in. And just have a blessed night, everyone.
Thank you for that reminder, Councilmember Aguayo. Councilmember Gann.
Thank you. I just want to say I hope the residents will continue to support our outdoor dining restaurants. Being in the midst of this pandemic, it's not, easy to run a restaurant, let alone a small business. So let's continue to support them. And then I want to make sure that we continue with all our safety precautions, washing our hands, wearing face masks where necessary. And then in addition to the city funds for rent assistance, there is also relief from LA County. And there's an application that runs through August 31st, and you can visit 211la.org or call 211. And then last, thanks to everybody who participated in the food giveaway. I got a lot of calls that, people were really satisfied with the food they received. But I did get 2 calls in which they saw about the Paramount food giveaway on the news, and it was too late to go. So I was thinking maybe in the future we could do a robocall for the elderly who are not on social media. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for those reminders, Councilmember Gann. Councilmember Cuellar-Stallings.
Well, I'm just going to repeat what everyone else has, my fellow council members have said. It was a very successful food drive. I was very pleased to hear there was over 2,100. It was nice to see quite a few of our seniors out, trying to assist their neighbors and the ones that were homebound. So I received a couple of them, and then they were really happy to receive an extra boxes for their neighbor. And also El Fresco. I've been hearing from my neighbors, they really like the little commercial on social media, and they've been going out. So they said, we've tried, right now with the heat, Velma, we haven't been going out that much, but we've been trying to, to support our fellow restaurants. And I just want to wish PUSD a great year. I know it's going to be kind of difficult, like Councilmember Aguayo said, and I have a lot of fellow teachers and friends that work for the district. So I just pray for all of you and the students. I know that it's going to be a transition, but all in the end it's going to work out. And also, like the census need to be filled out, and please send them in or go on the internet. But thank you, everyone. Have a great night and stay cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cuellar-Stallings. I attended my regular sanitation meeting, and I think one of the most interesting things is that they're looking towards the sanitation district a lot now with the virus to identify the trend, whether it's up or down. And they showed us comparisons of with the county health department and the CDC, and they actually get their results sooner because they're able to test on a regular basis. And it was, almost exactly in line with the numbers of the county and the CDC. So that's probably going to be a way for the future for them to look into exactly what's happening with the virus and give them a view that's further ahead than what they're able to track by the reports and the people that are getting tested. So it was really interesting that the wastewater could provide that kind of accurate information. I also just wanted to personally thank Vice Mayor Olmos and Councilmember Stallings and Aguayo for going and doing the food distribution and braving that terrible heat. I know I wasn't able to be there myself. I did stop by at the tail end just to thank LA County for what they did, and I saw what you guys were up against. The cars were still an hour past time for it to close, lined up and getting food boxes. So that you were out there doing that work is certainly appreciated by the community. Thank all of you for participating tonight. Thank you for your hard work. Have a blessed day. I look forward to everybody tuning in on Saturday to YouTube, the Paramount channel at 10 a.m. For the discussion, and send in your emails to have your voice heard. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night. Thank you, staff.
Oh, Madam Mayor, comments from staff. I have a few.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks, Vice Mayor Olmos, for the recognition for the Around Town. Our graphics and design team, as well as our public information officer, did spend quite a bit of time on that. In regards to the emergency contacts, yes, we have a postcard that is in design right now. But after your comment, we're going to be turning that into a magnet. So that's a really good idea. So we will be doing that very, very soon. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And in regards to the assistance programs that we have had, if you recall, we have 3. So I'll just kind of real quickly go over the numbers to update the council and those of you that are tuning in as well. We had a 50 emergency mortgage assistance program grants available. Of the 50, 27 applications were turned in, so we still have 23 left. The deadline, however, has passed, so we do have extra funding in that, and we will repurpose it into the rental assistance program. And the reason for that is the rental assistance program is very, very popular. We had 50 available applications, and we received 68, so we were 18 over there. So we will use the money, again, remaining over for the mortgage assistance and apply that to the rental assistance. Lastly, the business relief program, we have 21 available applications and we received 23. So we are going to be seeking additional assistance for that. We might have some more money for that to apply to those last 2 businesses. Moving on, regarding the U.S. Census, we heard you loud and clear, everybody. That's very, very important. We do have billboards that just went up around town, so you may see that when you're driving around. We do have caravans that are planned in some of our hard-to-count neighborhoods, so we will get that planned and going. Again, echoing what Mayor Lemon said, the Unity Community is scheduled for this Saturday at 10 a.m. The committee did receive 10 emails, and they will be discussing the contents of those emails during this upcoming Saturday session. So for those of you in the community that do want to participate in future discussions, please be sure to get your emails in for future discussions. So with that concludes comments from staff, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Hearing nothing else, we stand adjourned till September 1st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.